Welcome to Was It Good? I am Ravi, joined by only Arjuna this time because Krishna is somewhere else.
We fired him.
Yeah, you can do that on these things. We're also joined by Mr. Michael in our producer's chair. Hello. Today on Was It Good, we are going to be discussing the newest episode of What If, where, what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? Spoiler, bad things. And then also the Beard episode of Ted Lasso. Coach Beard has a centric episode where he does stuff, a lot of stuff. And then we're going to close it out with a little bit of discussion on that terrible Apple Keynote event where they introduced the new iPhone 13. And then also that Hawkeye trailer. Not Hot Guy.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yes, the hot guy.
The hot guy.
Hot guy.
But as always, I'm going to start things first by asking Arjuna a question. And then we're going to change the order here. And let's just talk about the Apple Keynote. Arjuna, why the fuck did you order the iPhone 13? You have an iPhone 12, you psycho.
I liked the blue.
Really? Is that the only reason?
No, I just wanted to upgrade the phone.
But why? You're paying outright for this fucking thing.
Yeah, but the phone is like such a vital thing that you use every single day. And it was just like, wanted to upgrade it.
For that cinematic mode?
No, it just honestly felt like my phone was like getting slow and whatnot. So I was I'll just upgrade it to the next one.
Do you think maybe it's very possible that
they throttled my phone?
Well, there's that whole throttling thing, but there's also like the possibility maybe your perception of the phone's speed has changed because you're on it too much.
Maybe.
So maybe instead you should just get rid of using your phone.
A smartphone is like the new house. Like you just have to get one.
That's very true.
And if you don't, you're behind. And, then what was the point of going to college and spending $60,000?
That's very, very true.
If you don't spend $2,000 on a new phone.
Yeah. Wonderful, I guess, Arjuna. You wasted your time in college like many of us did.
College is such a, instrumental 4 years of your life.
Yeah, partying. Yeah.
You get pushed into the propaganda machine, Your brother texts you from California and is like, hey, man, you need these Apple products. Play Grand Theft Auto with me. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, for me, and it's only 10 for you. I'm like, I need to sleep.
That's very true. That's very true.
Oh, man.
Speak along those same lines. Obviously, we got the newest episode of Ted Lasso and What If.
It's pronounced Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Which one do you want to talk first? Killmonger and Stark or Beard's adventure in Ted Lasso?
Let's do Beard's adventure. It was longer.
It was a lot longer, but that's been the case for the last, what you said, three episodes now?
This episode and the two before.
The last two episodes being where Doc gets hit. They also play Man City. They lose to Man City.
Yep.
What's his name? Jamie punches his dad in the face. Beard pushes his dad out. And then, is it Rebecca, the owner of the club? And what's his name?
No, not Leslie. The
one on the dating app.
The player.
I want to say Steve for some reason.
No, it's not Steve. It's not Isaiah. Let me look it up real quick.
Anyway, so he's dating Rebecca now, so that was some bizarreness.
Well, we don't know if they're dating. They just hooked up.
They're having sex.
It doesn't mean you're dating.
That's true, actually.
Like there's a lot of people that have sex with people. They're not dating.
Oh. Arjuna, there's a lot of people out there that are having sex.
Unprotected sex.
But
was it good?
Sam.
There we go. Steve, Sam, you see what I did there. So we don't know if they're dating. But in this episode, it takes place immediately after the last episode where Beard says to Ted he's going to go back on the tube, on the underground, take the train, and kind of just sit there and stare at little kids who are Man City fans. And then his night kind of goes wild because what does he do? He goes to a bar and he meets up with the Richmond,
the trio of
the core Richmond fan base,
the three fans. I right off the bat,
yep.
I think what we talked earlier in the season, I kind of missed those characters and the flavor that they gave the town of Richmond that they were in. So it was actually kind of nice to have an episode with them in it. And they were kind of co-stars in a lot of way.
I like that one of the when they go and find Beard in the bar and they sit down and talk with him. He's like, you the 3 questions, and the questions are about Ted and what kind of person he is, about Vegas, and then the third question is about the idea of like existence and what it all means. And
he says life is a simulation.
Yeah, life is a simulation.
Which I've been actually saying for quite a few weeks on this podcast.
You've only been saying that because it's, for some reason, taking a recent uptick. It could be because of the recent Matrix trailer drop, or it could be because the simulation is falling apart. Who knows?
I think we're all noticing it.
Really?
That's why it's entering the
human consciousness, the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually random thought here, but the idea of that human beings are connected kind of speaks to why sometimes an idea in America will show up around the same time as like an idea in Russia, whether that be like a piece of creative like art or film or whatever. Yeah. It's because at some point we are all connected to some kind of bizarre spectrum that I can't explain. It also is like why I think like the idea of, you know, anti-vaxxers and all that fun stuff gets connected because they're all at some weird messed up wavelength. Anywho.
So are you saying that Coach Beard is an anti-vaxxer?
No, Coach Beard is very big into drugs.
Yeah, that's true.
And drinking and partying and Club Sin.
He drinks very heavily in this episode, but he never shows any outward signs of being drunk.
I mean, when he's tired. Well, I guess that's post-drunk.
Post-being drunk. He doesn't, there's never any part where he is slurring his words, you know, not unstable on his feet. And, you know, we had a conversation before the show where we talked about the surrealism of the episode, right? The moon being
blue,
gigantic, right? The order of events and kind of how they occur and certain aspects of the episode, specifically with his girlfriend / ex-girlfriend being in the same spot all night, running into the woman and then the sewing of the pants.
Let's back up real quick. So the girlfriend, Beard's girlfriend, who is a chess master, Jane is her name. I was confused when you guys were you and Lerman were talking about her being at the same club all night.
So she sends him a picture early in the night with that cross.
Right. So when when he first enters the Richmond bar or the pub, which one would theorize that he probably got to that pub around, let's say 9 o'clock. So let's say she's at the club at 8 or 9, and then he meets up with her at that same club, probably at 2 a.m.
It's like I would
6
say
a.m. like the next day.
4. It's because you think about it, right? He's there at Richmond for a while. At the Richmond bar because there's a whole table full of beers. It's like at least they close it down. It's 11. They mentioned like pubs here close at 11:30, right?
Right.
So no closes at 11:30, and then from there they then attempt to get into the exclusive club, which they then do. He's there for a bit of time, really just a half a beer, because then he chases the woman with the pants for a while.
The woman in red, right?
The woman in red that then fixes his pants. Then he obviously runs from that guy. He's running from that guy for a while. Then he gets into the fight with Jamie's dad and his friends.
Right.
Again, another surreal moment for them just to kind of appear. You have this weird fight. It's starting to get really dark when they pick up the lead pipe and they're like, "Oh my God, are they gonna
end up like killing
hospitalize him or kill him?" And then again, another surreal part. The big, beefy. Sahara called him like
bro dude,
deep voice Roy Kent.
Yeah,
you know, shows up and saves him. Somehow chased him. Seemingly found him. You found him. You know, a great distance. Right. It seems like he'd been traveling for a while to get there. At least.
Was he? Yeah, because he was on a bus.
He was on a bus.
He was on the red bus.
He gets the phone.
By the way, the cleanest bus I've seen ever.
Yeah.
And most empty bus ever.
Yeah. And then he sees the phone. He has 72 missed phone calls from Jane. He has a crap ton of missed texts. The phone dies, but we know.
Oh, did anyone catch the time?
I did not catch.
Because the phone would have had the time roughly
on there.
Yeah.
It might not have.
Oh,
yeah. I can't remember the top, but I'd have to see the frame again. And then he's walking because remember, he can't get on a bus. He has no phone. He
is picked up by the limo.
Well, he goes to the hotel first.
That's right.
No. Then he's continuing to walk. He gets all the way back to like the edge of Richmond. That's when he gets picked up by the limo. Goes, breaks the key to his home. Then he goes to that church, sees it, goes inside, prays. Then he goes to the weird
Club.
club.
Yeah, a club that has a church that has a club underground.
A church that has
crazy.
a club. You see the two commentators that he keeps hallucinating, having the extended conversation on commentary on him. He has the really weird hula hoop where he's like barely moving, but the hoop's going around him. It's almost like sci-fi-esque because it's just like spinning. Like he even like lifts his wrist up and it's just perfectly kind of going around. And then he has this weird dance with Jane, and
then everything is great.
And everything is great. It's a bizarre episode.
It's a great. I think it's I was telling you earlier. I think it's my favorite episode, like of television, because it is so random and just kind of out there. And yes, it does the typical TV thing where when he was being beat up by Jamie's father and friends, I was like, oh, and there's the conveniently placed crowbar or bar or whatever, right? Like the whole episode is filled with just convenience.
Sure.
But it's still like it's fun and it's goofy, and it's also cool because we get to see more of like Beard in the world. Right? And I think the big piece, right, with the commentary is we're learning more about Beard, who he is, because obviously I think the thing that we're gearing up to in Ted Lasso is that there's gonna be a big turning point coming, obviously, where either it's Beard screaming in Ted's face. I mean, we saw Beard scream at Ted before in season 1 where he said, I'm sick and tired of losing. That's just selfish.
He takes losing quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, this shows it too.
Yeah, so I think with this episode and then also what they've done with Nate the Great in terms of just kind of showing his line of thinking and how he's not necessarily aligned completely with Ted.
Right.
They're clearly they're setting up there to be, at least from the start, like tension within the coaching staff, and then potentially that will go further on. Will we see that tension carry on to the players? Will we see that kind of carry on to the front office staff of Keeley and
like a civil war?
Well, it's just like the first season was all about Ted proving like even though he was a joke hire, he could work as a coach, and it almost feels like this season now it's like here are the reasons why he actually can't be a football coach, right?
Right.
It like the shtick doesn't work, the lack of knowledge on the sport doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. Like that. I think we all kind of assumed like the way they ended season 1, it was going to be this great redemption story of he gets the club over the hump and everything. But I almost think it's like, no, I think they're actually going to show him fail and be a little bit more like realistic with who he is as a coach. Like, right, there's no American football coach that's going to come and coach a Premier League team and they're going to win. So it's interesting.
I think here's a random question though. Like, can Ted Lasso be Ted Lasso if there is no Ted Lasso? So they've done a good job of like building all these other characters, making you care about these characters like Roy Kent, like Beard, the 3, super fans. Is there, if you remove, because this episode, the only Ted we got was in the very beginning when he says to Beard, be careful, and then no more Ted.
Right.
Is the show still interesting if there is no Ted?
I mean, I think not for a great distance, but I think what this is, what this episode, this quote unquote bottle episode does, right, where it focuses on one individual character and one evening, is it's building up the motivation and fleshing out the coach of Beard for something greater within the greater story and scheme that obviously focuses on Ted. Our producer brings up the fact that obviously in the last episode we got the big revelation that Ted's dad committed suicide, right? And died when he was a young age. He brings up Beard is spiraling. What happens if Ted does lose, the guy he came to this team with, right? Like, it was a very dark tone at the end, and it's something that I thought about too. It's like, oh my God, are they gonna like kill off Beard, or like is he going to like leave him in some way? I think
it's
interesting.
I think what this episode is shown and done, because he doesn't want to talk about losing in the game and everything, but obviously subconsciously it's a big issue for him.
Right.
I think what we're gonna see, especially now that Jane, quote, loves him.
Right.
I'm wondering if he does step away for like a minute or a bit. And then, we're going to see something happen with Ted and, the rest of the coaching staff.
I think this season is going to end with Ted at his lowest point, right? that's it seems like that's where they're gearing that towards. And I think I said it earlier in the season, like maybe he's going to end up being fired, right? Or something like that types. I don't know if he's going to be fired or he's just going to be at his lowest point emotionally or something, but that's the way that the show is gearing up. And then I think season 3 is going to bring him back to some type of high, right? Whether that be all the way to like Richmond is back in the Premier League and they win it all, or if it's him back coaching, or if it's back him in America. But they did it more subtly in season 1 where he really lost his wife. You know, he had to come to the acceptance of losing his kid. And I think I don't want to say they like tricked us, but I think they were able to use our expectations of him being a positive guy. Of like, everything's in a good spot now, but now it's like we're peeling back the layers of like, is it really though? Like, this man is not in a good place, and it's starting to affect a lot of things.
Is the next episode going to be about Sam and Rebecca, you think?
I think it's going to be part of it. So on Apple TV, when you look at the episode page, right, they always show the next episode with like a little description and a thumbnail.
It's called No Weddings and a Funeral?
Yeah, so spoiler alert for those who don't want to be spoiled on the next episode of Ted Lasso, but it has a thumbnail of Rebecca in black with, I think, Roy and Keeley behind her. I think the description says, like, Rebecca deals with an unexpected loss.
My theory, my insane theory, it's her ex-husband.
I was thinking either ex-husband or maybe one of her parents, because her mom was in the episode. That seemed to be something, so that might be something that also motivates her in some way, and they're also of older age, I assume. So, but her ex-husband might make sense. That might be something that affects her. But then, like, they're in such a bad relationship. Would she actually go to the funeral for him? I don't know.
Well, I mean, out of respect. Remember, she's always played the role of like being the bigger, like being the adult in that relationship. That's always been her role. So I would imagine that she would do that and show up at that funeral. And I would also imagine like Keeley and Roy they're going as support
for her.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised he hasn't played more into the season because, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe season 1 near the end he had impregnated his like younger girlfriend, also named Rebecca,
and he also gave her some kind of board access or something to the club.
Yeah, something
like he had passed some kind of shares or access, and it hasn't come up at all since. So, wow.
That's dark.
Lerman, our producer on our outline, just threw in Dubai Air kills Sam. Wow, no,
so dark.
Yeah, because Dubai Air finds out he's there. Yeah, that's it.
Could you imagine?
Actually, no. Speaking back to that, I wonder if this funeral that they're attending, if it is, let's say it is something to do with the ex-husband, and then let's say somehow she's going to like lose control or lose some kind of financial control of the club. I would imagine Dubai Air, we're not done with Dubai Air. They're coming back in some way, and I think that's going to be the thing that will ultimately break up Sam and Rebecca. I don't think that's a relationship that's going to last, because Sam has also shown that he's going to do whatever his dad says, which isn't a bad thing, because his dad, from what we've seen, isn't like leading him astray or having him do anything that's necessarily negative. Like stopping like Dubai Air and the drilling and all that fun stuff. You know, it's a good cause. But I think that's definitely going to be like again, it may not be because of whatever funeral, but I think that is going to be the thing that, you know, will make us see those two kind of like break up.
Yeah, I wonder if she's going to make a decision to, like, reverse and, like, bring them back as a sponsor, and then, you know, that's going to obviously be harmful to Sam, and he's going to leave the club and, like, leave Rebecca or something. Or, obviously, their relationship is secret, and someone's going to find out, and that will obviously be
I don't know how you keep a relationship secret like that when you have...
They're both high-profile individuals.
Yeah, like... That's what, like...
I was really confused in the episode before when he, like, lingers in her doorway. I'm like... She's an owner of a football club. You're a football player. Like, paparazzi would... Like, you're just standing there.
Yeah, and they also, like, kiss in front of the house, too.
Yeah.
Like, so how is it a fucking secret?
I don't know. It's
also, like, showing... like, I've been to England recently.
Yeah.
And, you know, this was all pre-COVID, obviously. The streets of London... yes, they get a little bit empty around like 12, 1 o'clock, but they're not that empty. Like,
well, they're in Richmond, right? So
sure, I
Richmond's
guess,
supposed to be
yeah.
a
Little dinky town.
well, not dinky town, but it's a little, it's not London.
It's in between Milton Keynes and London.
Yeah, it's not.
Did I tell you I'm
it's a small
going?
city.
I'm going in December.
To where?
England.
No, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I'm going to England in December for a week and a bit.
Nice.
We are going to drop by Richmond though.
Okay, nice.
If I did my math correct, no, I think the show will be done by then. Yeah, definitely
I think it's
be
supposed
done.
to be done in October.
Yeah,
it should be done in October.
But don't worry, I will go by the stadium and take pictures.
Richmond's not a real club, right?
Yeah, no, but there is a club. It's the Richmond Rugby Club.
Yeah.
But there's no soccer or football.
Also, they showed someone tweeted out one of the creators tweeted out like when they shoot the soccer scenes, it's like a regular, it's like a
it's a high school like field.
And then they like green screen all the sides and everything.
Yep. Everything is fake.
I think someone tweeted out like the Jamie Tart kick, which is real. Like he actually kicked that.
Oh wow,
himself. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Do you think they've got like on-site like soccer supervisors?
So they interviewed the actor that plays like Danny Rojas, and he talked about the audition process. And it's like when they auditioned, they had to actually
kick your soccer ball.
They actually had to do some soccer stuff and be familiar with soccer and be able to play because they didn't want it to look
they want
fake,
which is weird. Like, oh, we don't want the soccer to look super fake, but by the way, we're only going to show in a season in total 3 minutes of soccer.
Well, I feel like season 1 showed way more soccer.
Tons
than
more.
Season 2,
Tons
right?
more. Yeah, like the first season primarily took place at the Richmond Club.
At the pitch, right?
Yeah, this one takes place primarily like all over the place.
Yeah.
Like we've been everywhere based on where these characters are. Like we've been in Keely's house a shit ton.
Right.
We've been at the school a bunch. Like Roy Kent's niece's school.
We've been in the offices way more than the locker room.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the locker room was like a central part of season 1, and this one it feels like the offices
is way more important
instead of the locker room.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, again, we talked about this in the last pod that, COVID has definitely played its part in terms of how they can do production, where they're shooting all that stuff. And I think, unfortunately, as well, the soccer, I guess you could do the soccer scenes in a COVID protected way because it's outdoors and you could just green screen in the audience and everything. I don't know why they haven't done that. Sorry, my beard is itchy.
That's great. You just like go right into the mic, give them the ASMR, Yeah, there you go.
Real quick, did you like the episode? Was it good to you, or did you have any issues with the episode? Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that because I don't want to be here forever. Give me your two things that irritated you the most about the episode. There we go.
I thought the pacing was a bit off for the episode, but maybe that feeds into the surrealism of like what they were trying to go for. It felt like some parts were really dragged and were a bit slower, while other parts just kind of breezed through. It was, of the 3 episodes that have been in the 45-50 minute range, this one felt the longest of the 3.
So it's negative to you or positive?
It's a bit of a negative. Just like it didn't.
Do you have other things to do?
It didn't. No, not necessarily. But it didn't like completely detract from the episode. But it was noticeable.
Gotcha.
And I think also that plays into, this was an episode that was about one character versus like other episodes obviously focus on multiple characters. That helps the show move a bit. While this was just the one character and the one guy, and I felt like they didn't necessarily nail what they were trying to say with Beard. Like, it felt a little too artsy, like, with the whole key thing falling.
It felt like a student film in some parts.
Kind of, right? Yeah. Like, they were trying to throw in some imagery with the moon. Did you
ever get a Doctor Who vibe from it? So I got, like, I even said to, like, Lauren when we were watching it, when the 3 fans are in the underground thing and going up the tunnel, I was like, this feels like Doctor Who.
It felt sci-fi. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I was like, this feels very, very sci-fi, very, very Doctor Who.
I thought there was going to be some weird twist, and then I was expecting the whole episode, like, and now he wakes up, or, he's in the hospital.
Or they'll play back certain parts of the episode, and it's like, he was never with the 3 fans.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting, but that never happened.
Yep.
And so I think that's also what threw me for the episode.
And that was a weird noise.
But I mean, ultimately, to answer your first question,
Yeah.
I did like the episode. I did think it was good. I think the season has like slowly, continuously like chugged some momentum and gotten better. And I think like as we look at the season as a whole, there's maybe some type of journey that they're trying to say, specifically with like Ted through all of these other characters and what's kind of going on around him.
So Michael is saying the moon is a reference to Moonstruck the movie. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, it's amore.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Nick Cage's line?
No, it's the song.
Oh.
Nick Cage is in it.
Oh, interesting.
Nick Cage share. It's like there's a big giant moon. It's all about how the big moon represents love.
Interesting.
Classic.
So any time that Ted Lasso references love, they pull it from other movies. Interesting.
Let's just pull it from Love Actually.
Yeah, why not? Speaking of Love Actually, the love...
But did you like the episode?
Oh, yeah. I already said I loved the episode.
Was it good?
It was definitely good.
Was it bad?
It wasn't bad. It was a fun episode. Now, things that were bad. Let's move into What If. Marvel's What If. This episode of What If, we got, again, more Jeffrey Wright talking, which is always a positive.
Well, he talks in all the episodes.
Right, but he talked more in this episode.
No, I mean, it's about the same.
Well, he had more.
He talked more in like the Doctor Strange
You know what it?
episode.
You know what it was? It was
When he
we saw
talked to
we saw
Strange.
more of him like fully as opposed to like his silhouette.
Yeah,
Or like him like cross-faded into the sky.
I mean, the episode he's done the most in is the Strange episode.
Oh, of course.
Because he had the convo with him directly.
Right. Who didn't have good combos though in this one was Tony Stark.
The fake Tony Stark?
The Walmart version of Tony Stark.
He was a bit nasally.
He was very nasally.
He wasn't horrible, though.
No, not at all. But
he fooled me for the first 2 seconds.
yeah,
I was like, no.
we also got 10 Rings because obviously the 10 Rings is the group that captures Tony in
the first Iron
Afghanistan.
Man, yeah.
But
They have
this
to.
one,
It made me think, like, in the MCU, they eventually have to retcon that or explain that in some way, shape, or form of why the 10 Rings just was decided to get hired by Obadiah to kill Tony, or was that part of like Wenwu's plan or something? Like, I'm sure that will be explained in some way, especially because especially because in the stinger of Shang-Chi, they said specifically the 10 Rings will return. So like the 10 Rings is an organization that will continue to go on in the MCU.
yeah. So as Shang-Chi showed us, the 10 Rings is now a cool club.
Yeah, but they still
that does club music.
But I still think there is some like
What would you do that? What would you Shang-Chi 2 comes out and the 10 Rings is only purpose is like they set up like dance clubs and that's it. For some reason they have like guns and everything and all that fun stuff, but they just do like music promotional events and that's it. That's their whole purpose. Because again, it's a Disney movie. Can't have real like evil corporations.
Michael asked, wouldn't it be while he was raising his family? Probably not. We know Shang was 7 when his mom died, and he had the 10 Rings reinstated shortly after that. We know, based off of the movie time, Shang was born sometime between 97 and 98/99, so that would be 2006, the latest, and Iron Man takes place in 2008. Which is when it came out, 2008. So, well, they've come back. They've been around for 2 years, so. Well, I feel like Wenwu, they never really went away. That's my hot take.
The other thing with
he never really.
But hold on, the other thing with like the 10 Rings and like any evil corporation or movie or real life, there's the person at the top, but then there's usually generals and other people, and then they'll do spin-offs. So it's very possible that even if it wasn't fully back or aligned or whatever, the 10 Rings.
Yeah, but they still
was just using the name.
They still there's still gotta be some explanation.
There'll be an explanation in that video game that's not connected, and that's all.
Oh, Thor.
Yeah, Thor the game.
Well, but we have a Thor game, Spider-Man 2, Guardians, Wolverine,
Guardians. Yeah, a whole bunch of
games coming out.
But this What If episode, right? We see Killmonger save Tony, and then, pull off the most elaborate plan, I think, ever, where everything has to go 100% accurately. Like we were talking about, in Ted Lasso, that Ted Lasso seemed like, things are just happening for the sake of things need to happen that way.
Yeah.
This episode definitely showed, like, for Killmonger's plan to work, everything had to go, like, exactly perfect. Like, especially, like, with Rhodes being at the location with Claw,
Sure.
Black Panther showing up, like, all of it had to work just perfectly.
But that's like the MCU in general, though.
Yeah.
It's all very much like, even look at Infinity War for like it to all go that way. You had all these little MacGuffins and little things that had to happen.
Certain
for
things
Thanos
had to be
win.
said.
Like, Thor.
Did Thanos win?
Going for the he did initially.
Yeah, but then they retconned it.
Then the TVA didn't step in, and they
Well, the TVA isn't real. So.
Or is it?
No, it's
Tritium.
simulation. No. What's gonna happen, Arjuna? You see, is Kevin Feige is gonna one day wake up and be like, fuck Disney Plus. I hate that shit. And then everything that's happened doesn't happen.
I don't know. There seems like there's like a billion Marvel Disney Plus shows coming. So
I'm trying to get my Disney Plus Marvel show accepted. Where basically we get this podcast in the MCU, and all we have to do is just distribute it there.
When will the MCU dive into like dramatized podcasts that are part of the MCU canon?
Well, so I don't think it'll ever be part of the MCU canon because that's just not what they do. That's not their medium. But there are tons of like dramatized podcasts right around Marvel.
Well, and then even just like other like Doctor Who, for example. They're known for their Big Finish audio dramas, which are canon. They're like huge parts of Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, but that's because Doctor Who came out back in the time of, in
radio
like the peak of radio. So it kind of makes sense.
Well, and then it was off TV after 30 years, and that's when it like really the radio dramas really picked up.
I can't imagine the MCU being an audio formatted like setup that somebody like a fan base would get into.
You could just have them all grunting when they fight, like ting ting ting, ting 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 ting.
You know what isn't a really interesting and fascinating way to like consume content is like the audiobooks for Star Wars, because they add in like orchestral music, insane sound effects.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculously good. And obviously it's not a podcast, it's someone reading a book to you.
Right, an audio.
But like they do a really, really good job with it. I mean, I would be it'd be a curious thing if they did like a podcast.
Look, we know Disney wants to take over the world, right? But within Disney, Marvel also wants to take over the world with Marvel content specifically. So I bet they will try someday.
Slow down.
Slow down.
So what did you have any issues with this episode? Obviously, my big one is just everything seemed like to fall into place.
Sure.
I
just thought actually it was just kind of uninteresting.
It felt uninteresting, and it's weird to say, like, I want to say like unnecessary, but then again, like all of What If is kind of
unnecessary.
Well,
but here's the thing, right? Like, and we talked about this with the first episode with Captain Carter. You took something that's interesting, right? You like made her the super soldier, but it's just the first Avenger.
Yeah.
Again, right? You don't really change the character very much. You just kind of gender swapped, and that was it.
Yep.
And it was kind of similar to this. You took Michael B. Jordan and Killmonger, who's super interesting, but you didn't change the character at all. You just had him do what he does in Black Panther earlier.
Yeah.
And you see some of the consequences of that, and like I think once you get over the initial like, oh my god, he killed Tony, oh my god, he killed Rhodes, oh my
Black
god,
Panther.
he killed T'Challa, right?
Yep.
Once you get past that, you're like, oh, this is just Black Panther, which is a good movie, it's an enjoyable movie, and like Michael B. Jordan's great in that, but it just almost feels like they wasted bringing back Michael B. Jordan in this, because what I've liked about the What If stuff is pushing these characters into new territory based off of what they've done, right? And how that changes them.
So then in
your favorite episode is the Doctor Strange episode, right? And you really liked the Strange being kind of pushed to evil, and all that type of stuff. And we saw that change of like, this is the guy that can do something. You didn't see that with Killmonger.
You did see it with another character though. Pepper Potts. This is based like full offense to Gwyneth Paltrow, but this is the best version of Pepper Potts that the MCU has put out. Granted, this is this is the second version of Pepper Potts, but like what I saw with this Pepper Potts, way more fucking interesting than what we've seen in the movies.
But I don't think.
And
So
her character.
Here's my counter argument.
Okay.
I think that's performance based. That's not story based. You know what I'm saying?
100% right.
Like she's still. I would still say she does similar. Like she would do similar.
And Gwyneth Paltrow did not voice this one.
No, I don't think so.
It was.
She probably doesn't know if a show exists. She doesn't know how many Iron Man or Spider-Man or MCU.
How many of the MCU like actors has she like come across outside of the MCU and has acted like this is the first time she's?
She did to Samuel L. Jackson. They were at like the Avengers. Oh my God, Sam's here. They're in Iron Man 2 together.
I don't get what is she sniffing her own like candles again?
It's hilarious.
It's so weird. I don't understand. Is she just so consumed with her own life? She's got to be consumed with her own life, right? To this.
So
I don't know. It's bizarre. Anyway, I would say Pepper Potts was more interesting in this. I think it was also kind of cool to see. How do you say the sister's name? Black Panther's sister's name?
Shuri.
Shuri. It was interesting to see her.
Young Shuri.
Very
Shuri.
young,
Because this is 2008. It's not 2018 or 2016.
Yeah, how is it Killmonger looks the exact same?
So that was a big internet complaint of like, why? Because Killmonger is probably like 1920 at this time.
Yeah.
Because we know from Black Panther, like that's when he served young in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
And it's like, what?
Yeah, he looked the same age. And he also had as many kill count as what he had in Black Panther.
Yeah.
What?
Also, what if, for the most part, has done a good job at the beginning of each episode, specifically diving into like what the difference is, right? So, what if when Hank Pym went to the quantum realm to get his dead wife, she was a zombie, right? Then we know that's what the zombie thing happens. This one is like, what if Killmonger saves Tony? But they don't really explain like what put Killmonger there. They're like, oh, it's the plan, but then it's like what? So the actual divergence in the timeline is further back to put him
there
to find out about that information, to put him in there, and that's what I didn't like about this episode. It reminds me of episode 3 when like Hank Pym kills the Avengers, and it was all because like Hope died years before. So it's like,
well, like this one, I guess the only context we have is that we know that Killmonger served in Afghanistan.
right.
Tony's in Afghanistan.
Right.
But again, it's to your point, like, and I guess we don't know in detail his plans in like Black Panther. Like, why did he do X, Y, and Z to get there?
Right.
So if you're copying that, but then again, to your point, like,
it's always
why are you copying that?
It's supposed to be like the way I've always viewed What If, and I feel like they've done for most of these episodes. It's like one
small
crucial
change,
detail,
and
then you see the butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
This one seems like a bunch of details.
Yeah, because like he knew
manipulate.
Yeah,
to get to
he
the
knew
story.
about Obadiah's plan.
Right.
Like, how did he know that? Why would he know that?
He said he uncovered the 10 rings.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, how did he do that? They don't really
Yeah.
explain any of that, and that's what I've disliked about the show. It hasn't been a consistent approach.
Yep.
In terms of just how they approach the stories, because some of these stories feels like they come up with the what if and then they develop the story from there, right? And figure out what are the changes, versus like this is one that felt like they knew they're like, we want to do Killmonger and like him doing this stuff and killing Tony. And it's like then they reverse engineered it of like, how do we get there? And they kind of like did some of it but not all of it, you know.
Another question too is, why didn't he kill the king of Wakanda, his uncle?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, and it just seems like he is still trying to like gain the respect of the people of Wakanda and get that mantle and everything. And so I feel like he's going to do it when it's an opportune time, and it's not like opportune necessarily yet.
So obviously we talked about this as well a little bit, where it's like the thing that is getting kind of annoying with some of these what ifs is they end on these big cliffhangers. And, you know, if a show is good, you want to know what happens next. But like the zombie one ends with them flying to Wakanda. At the very least, like, you could have wrapped it up and shown zombie Thanos getting everything and then snapping and then call it a day. That would have been kind of cool and interesting. But with this one, it ends where, he's in Wakanda looking at that beautiful sunrise. His uncle shows up, and he also gets the Black Panther, and he talks to T'Challa and everything in the weird zone place. But then, it ends with Shuri and Pepper Potts talking at the end, and then that's it. Right? And
it's clearly set up for a sequel, and really all of these kind of have those dangling plot threads of like continuing on. Even the Doctor Strange episode, which probably has like the most concrete ending, where basically the world ends and he's stuck in a jewel, but you could very easily have a follow up to that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's the smart Marvel formula. Like every Marvel movie ends with a dangling thread plot to continue on into the next movie. Like. Maybe the most definitive ending is Endgame, and even that still has you have questions of what's happening on certain things. So I think it's just like they're covering their bases of everything can continue, but we will choose and dictate what that is. Now, from what I've read online, Kevin Feige in December of 2019 said seasons 1 and 2 of What If were produced at the same time. So they must know which of these are continuing. So like, if I had to go off of that, this one feels like ripe for a sequel, like a direct sequel.
Peggy Carter.
Well, they said Peggy Carter will show up in every season of the show.
Yep.
Episode 3, where all the Avengers are killed, where Loki's taking over. That seems like when Captain Marvel flies down. That one seems like it's ripe for one. Probably the zombies one, to be honest. Like everybody loves zombies, and like that's one they could probably easily continue. But also, having said that, like seeing Thanos with the stones, to borrow his line, seems inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Of how that's going to end. Zombie Thanos will get all the zombies away.
I mean, yeah, he gets more brains.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlimited amount of brains.
Would zombie Thanos click just to make everyone a zombie? Or would he click to make everyone human or non-zombie again so he can eat them?
It's weird because being a zombie in that world seems like it still keeps some kind of aspect of that person.
I mean, they can all still use their powers, right?
Yeah. So like, I mean, if Peter...
It makes no sense.
I mean, what I would want to see in like a follow-up episode to that is Peter somehow getting the...
Gauntlet
and undoing everything. That would be, to me, like the logical, happy way to end it. Well, yeah, most likely. It would have to be a big sacrifice, right?
Theoretically, it wouldn't work since it wasn't done by the Gauntlet. Just like they couldn't bring back Romanov.
They couldn't undo it.
Right. So they probably can't undo the zombie.
No, they could have brought back Romanov, but they only had, one wish, essentially. Because it kills or damages or hurts the person that does it. Because remember, the whole point of the Gauntlet is to do anything you want. Yeah. You can bend and change reality however you see fit. I mean, the other thing that could happen is he gets the time stone and goes back in time and stops Hank from going and getting his wife out of the quantum verse or whatever. True. So there's a number of different ways they could undo it. Again, the TVA should have probably shown up at some point, but they
don't exist.
They don't exist in that world.
They're just now the Kang soldiers.
Juna, was that episode of What If good?
I'm gonna go no. Wow. It wasn't good. Probably on the lower end of the episodes for me. Did like Michael B. Jordan returning as Killmonger. Always, he was iconic in Black Panther, and it's probably the only way he can return to the MCU, I imagine. Though I guess now with variants, maybe they can introduce him back into live action if they so choose.
Would you want that to happen?
It would have to be a different character. I feel like I don't
remember Michael B. Jordan. This is his second Marvel character he's ever played.
Johnny Storm.
It was Johnny Storm in that wonderful Fantastic Four movie. Just so good. You can tell I'm lying.
I've never wanted to step out of a movie more than that movie.
I think I hate it because of what's his name, Miles
Teller.
Yeah, I did not like him. I mean, I just don't like him as a person.
Who would play Dr. Doom? He's the actor that's in Servant.
Yes. Yeah,
he's done a bunch of stuff.
He was the body for Kong and Kong's the line.
That's right. Yeah, he's done a lot. So yeah, it wasn't great. There were good elements to it. I actually one of my favorite elements that we didn't talk about with the was the Killmonger inspired mech suits, which were Gundam inspired.
Yep.
Actually, like
I love that
visually-
line. This is gonna be the most expensive Gundam ever. I was like, whoa, Gundam
that-
is MCU canon.
That was cool. Like I did like that, especially like growing up watching Gundam and like seeing it the animated style too. They should continue that thread. Forget everything else.
Just put Gundam
Just
in
follow
Marvel.
the Gundams.
That'd be cool.
What if Gundams?
What if Gundam?
But yeah, it just wasn't my favorite.
Not your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea. Ravi, what's this episode of What If good?
I'm also gonna say no.
What?
Yeah. Again, I think it's the two things for me where it's the copy and paste of this character, no real change or whatever, and then number two, just ending it on such a cliffhanger. When you don't, to me, you don't need to just tell the story and be done, and then give us a better what if. Don't continue this. We should be allowed to vote. Like at the end of the season, there should be like a voting thing of like, what stories did you find interesting? We will continue. Like that would be cool. I mean, American Idol figured it out with cell phones.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I mean, all those voting talent shows.
Do you watch any of those?
I watched America's Got Talent this last season.
Oh wow. Do you hate yourself?
I do after seeing who won.
Oh wow.
They have 10 finalists.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the very worst of all 10 won.
That's always like so. I watch Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
And they had this is their 20th season, so they had what they call young guns. You have to be 23. You have to be 23 or younger. But what was crazy about these chefs and these cooks and everything is like they don't look like they're 23 or younger. They look like they're in their late 20s, 30s, which makes sense because of like the stress of being a chef. It ages because they all smoke and yeah. But that's another show where they got rid of who I thought would have been the logical one.
But you know what?
That show was actually called out, like, basically saying, like, oh, you have two finalists again who are both white. And that's been, like, a consistent thing, I think, on that show for a while.
I've watched now enough reality, like, competition shows. It's always the same formula.
Oh, yeah.
It's the person who always wins is someone who, like, rides the middle of the pack for about half to 3/4 of the season. Then they rise to the top and they win it. All the time.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. All the front runners, they always try to manipulate the storylines so they shockingly lose.
Yeah,
and all this other type
it's
of
so
stuff.
stupid.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Like, especially in Hell's Kitchen, it's like somebody could be doing great in like the challenges. Like clearly they know what they're doing cooking wise, but then it's like during service, someone else will like sabotage them and it's their fault, and then and it's like, what the fuck? That's so stupid.
It makes no
Anyway,
sense.
we're not talking reality TV shows. Last thing we want to talk here before we kind of truly get out of here. Hawkeye.
Hot guy.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, hot guy.
The musical trailer extravaganza. I'll say this. Out of all of the Marvel shows on Disney Plus that have dropped this year, this will be the fourth and I think it's the last one for this year, correct?
I mean, they had announced, I believe one of the CE whatevers of Disney had said Miss Marvel would be coming out this year, but we have heard nothing.
Zilch. Yeah.
So it seems like they have run out of time for that to be true.
So yeah, potentially Hawkeye is the last one out of the so 4 Disney Plus series. I will say this, based on that trailer, I couldn't give two fucks. Like it to me looks boring.
The most wonderful time of the year.
Don't care. The tone just felt completely fucking wrong. Like it just felt
the
wrong
tone feels
and
amazing.
stupid.
So Michael, our producer, is giving me a big 2 thumbs up. Here's the thing about Hawkeye.
About hot guys?
He sucks. Yeah. With apologies to Sully, who is the world's #1 Hawkeye fan in the MCU. Hawkeye is the worst Marvel character in the MCU, probably of the main Avengers by far. He's the least interesting. They probably they didn't know he's so inconsistent from movie to movie. They didn't know what to do with him. I'm glad that they're trying something new with him. especially it's something that seems that I feel like fits Jeremy Renner better. He's a joke, so why don't you make him a joke?
Do you remember that movie he was in called Tag?
Yes.
This series looks like it's trying to be a more serious version of that.
I do not see a lot of seriousness in this show.
I see this as
this seems like a fun 3-day road trip in New York, training my successor, putting in a lot of Christmas
laugh.
A lot of Christmas tropes. You see him with ice packs. You see him in like a tuxedo. You see him running around.
$10 says he says I'm getting too old for this shit.
Probably. I mean, he is. Like Jeremy Renner, I think, is in his 50s. So
shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks good for an asshole in his 50s.
I'm actually intrigued by this show simply for the fact that it takes place in New York, which is a
New
big
York
hub,
City,
which is the big hub for the MCU.
Oh my god!
And
Juna, what have you learned? Stop doing this to yourself.
Know
Shut the fuck up.
It's coming out.
Oh my god!
Around another movie.
Oh my!
That takes place in New York.
Oh, for love of God!
Called Spider-Man. No Way Home. So all I'm gonna say is, the big bad of Hawkeye is Mephisto. That's the only conclusion I see.
I think part of the other reason I'm not super looking forward to this is because, and maybe the three of us, you, me, and Christian, have a good heart-to-heart about this. Because unless the first episode blows me away, I don't know if I'm going to be able to have the brain capacity to watch it week to week, or just wait until it's done and then binge it.
We will
we will definitely do the first episode.
We've talked about
for sure.
We've talked about with specifically the Marvel shows.
Yeah,
we can't do them all, and we should probably normally do the premiere and the finale.
Yeah, I think
maybe if there's episodes in between, or it's a Loki run where there's a lot to talk about each week, then you do it.
But Loki was interesting and good, had good character development. Right. Hawkeye is I have a bow. I mean, Yelena?
Yeah.
Yelena?
Yeah.
Is supposed to show up?
Yeah.
That's the rumor? Well, it's not a rumor, it's fact.
Yeah.
She's listed.
The listing.
I feel like it's going to be a weird, you know how we were Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not such a great show, kind of all over the place?
Yep.
This will just be all over the place.
I feel like this will be more focused because, again, I think it's a set time period. They're going for a set aesthetic. New York, the impression I get from the trailers is just going to be over a small amount of time, a few days in December, essentially, in this Christmas time. So I feel like it'll have a little bit more purpose than maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier did. But who knows? Maybe we get our cameo from Sam's Captain America in this. New York, final battle. That show takes place in New York. He's an Avenger in theory.
Do you think they're going to touch upon his loss of Black Widow?
I would be shocked if they didn't, especially we know they're talking about Ronan. Yelena is supposed to be in there, and the reason she's in there is because Val has said this is the one person who was responsible for your sister's death. So I do feel like there's a natural tie in there.
No mention.
Would be they cut out the whole plot because of the whole ScarJo thing.
Could you imagine? I could see them doing that.
Well, right, we talked about the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing, right, when they cut out potentially a whole subplot because it was too close to to COVID.
So they've done it. They've definitely done it.
Right, they just might underemphasize it, but
well, we have to wait until what? November is when
November 24th is the premiere.
A few days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's our
and Comic-Con.
I think a day before.
Wow.
Because it's Wednesday, and then Thanksgiving will be the next day.
I'd be curious to see if families are going to watch. The Lions are obviously playing on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I looked at the games. It's they're the first game. I think it's Bears-Lions.
Ugh.
It's awful. And then it's Raiders-Cowboys.
That'll probably be a good one.
Could be. And then the third game was Bills, someone else.
Yeah, no one's watching the Bills. Fuck the Bills.
No, but the Bills are a good team.
Yeah, but they're boring.
But,
anyway, I'm just curious to see.
Bills Mafia, man.
Yeah. Table. Let's go jump on a table.
Is that what we're going to do for our Thanksgiving? We're just going to watch Hawkeye.
Actually, for our thing, because I was talking with Lauren about it, I've gotten approval for the big deep fry canister. So I'm deep frying a turkey.
Wait, when you say approval,
Yeah.
Like who gave? Like Lauren gave you?
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Because essentially that thing can be like a bomb, so you have to like get approval.
Do it by the.
Yeah, like I had to file paperwork and everything. Had to be signed. Arjuna, this is what living. This is how you live with someone. You have to get approval.
Yeah. Right. Oh, right. I do live with someone.
Sure. Sahara, yeah.
She'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
She just couldn't make it today. Or any of the other days.
Oh man. I guess Hawkeye will be interesting. We'll see what happens. Hot guy. As we know, Arjuna bought a new iPhone 13 Pro Max. Did you go with the 1 terabyte?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I can.
Oh my god, it's so weird. So Arjuna's going to be launching his new YouTube channel. I'm just kidding. You should launch a YouTube channel where it's like Arjuna shoots everything cinematic, and it's you just doing mundane things like set up the phone when you're brushing your teeth so you can like fall and do the rack focus thing.
Yeah,
that actually be kind of interesting.
I'm gonna do that.
Are you really?
Yep.
No, really?
Yeah, definitely. Getting a little harness for my head and just have it so it's like my POV camera.
Oh my god!
Live stream every day. Should I do it on Twitch? People have left Twitch, so I feel like
you might have a chance
I'm
now.
Zig while everyone zags.
Yeah, exactly. Arjuna, the last holdout for Twitch. But was there anything else?
No pool parties here.
Was there anything else at that kind of mundane, boring ass Apple keynote that you found interesting?
So I actually didn't watch the keynote. I was like full on into meetings and I couldn't watch it.
I canceled. You know what I do?
You blocked it off.
This is what I do. When it's announced, the press announced, or when Apple sends out the invites and the press is this is when it's happening. I always go into my calendar and block out however long it is, and then cancel whatever meetings are there.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a fanatic.
I hope none of your coworkers are watching this.
Fuck them. Like.
I saw. It just seemed like it was a refresh.
Yeah,
didn't seem like, at least from my point of view, like anything new was announced. I know, like you and Michael have talked about the glasses maybe being announced at some point. Doesn't seem like they did that. Didn't seem like they did a Mac Mini refresh.
Yeah, there was no computers, which I kind of knew that wasn't going to be announced.
They've been separating those.
Yeah. If anything, they should be announced probably in October.
Yeah, they always do a second event with the computer stuff.
Yeah, and I think if it does happen, I think I might go with a Mac Mini.
The only other thing I was interested in was in the AirPods Pro, the big ones.
Over the ears ones?
Yeah, I thought they might do a refresh for those, but it doesn't seem like anything for that was announced either.
If you want good headphones, go with the Sony HMX4s, I think they're called. They're really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with that, I think we can close out this pod.
Well, goodbye.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
As always, you can find us on Twitter at Was It Good, on Instagram and on TikTok at Was It Good Pod. We are going to be doing a pod this coming Monday on Apple's morning show. And the new FX show, Why Last Man. So that should
Why the Last Man?
Why the Last Man? Should be an interesting one. And as always, you can follow along with us on wasitgood.info, our website. A newsletter is coming soon.
That's why Christian's not here. He's working hard on it.
Yes, he's in the computer core.
This is our first full episode without Christian.
Yeah.
Remember we did one a month ago or 2 months when he came
then he
Colorado
popped in.
And he came back right at the end. Yeah, this is it. He never showed up.
He didn't show up. And Monday will be our second.
Yeah.
Wow.
We watch our ratings are going to spike.
Maybe. We'll see.
Because Christian is listening to the podcast.
Over and over again. He's just using a VPN and bouncing country to country. So he has to Anywho, goodbye.